Welcome back to the Yukon Adventure. On the last episode, we finished up the reinvigorating the old mines contract. On this episode, we're going to take care of some of these small jobs that are in that part of the map before we can get moved down to the bottom. We're taking out the Action because it has a 1-slot bed and a mini crane, and we're going to use this to get started on the Support the Meteorologists task. I'm glad that you're here. I'm looking forward to getting this work done. Let's get started. I've installed the chain tires on the Action because we have a waterfall to climb up and a mountainside to scale. The off-road tires would probably perform a lot better in most of these spots, but I don't think I'd be able to make it up the 2 hills that we need to climb with them. So we're going to cruise up the road. We need to pick up this one service spare part. The mini crane on the Action likes to tip this truck over, so I do like to load the cargo from the front because it counterweights the truck a lot better. If you can get your crane all the way up in the air before turning, you're a lot less likely to tip sideways. Now that we got this one loaded and packed, we just need to cruise up the road a little bit further, up by the warehouse, and then we'll turn off and start driving up the waterfall. This truck performs pretty well in the mud, even with these chain tires. It does a decent job. The only thing you really got to watch out for is tipping it over. The mini crane makes it kind of unstable. And then when you're running up this mountainside, just try to straddle the wheel tracks. You'll be able to get through here a lot better if you have some of your tires on grass instead of mud. Once we hit the water, it's going to go a lot better. There isn't really any deep mud through here, it's mostly just icy rocks, and the Action does a pretty decent job of dominating them. As you can see, it's cruising right up the hill and high. If you can keep your momentum without hitting any of these stationary rocks, you shouldn't have any issue at all. You do got to watch out that you don't flip yourself over though. Once we get out of the top, there is some deep snow and mud if you follow the road, but if you turn off to the right and head towards this camp shack over here, you can get through a lot better. This truck is kind of bouncy, but we made it up here. And we'll get this one delivered. Support the Meteorologist is complete. From here, we're going to work on the don't do a barrel roll task. In my opinion, this is possibly the hardest task in the entire region. Mostly because you have to go straight up the mountain to deliver it, and we need to also bring the small scout trailer with us. You can use a scout that can connect to that trailer, but because the mountain is so steep, the fuel will most likely come unpacked trying to go up the hill. So if you don't have a mini crane with you, you won't be able to get it reloaded. That's why I'm doing it like this. I'm going to load it into the box of this truck and then pull the flatbed behind with the winch. But that too is going to bring a lot of challenges, as we won't have our winch to use to help us up the hill. Right out the bottom, we're going to go past the warehouse and follow the rock road around the bend. I do like using the Action in this configuration. It is a lot more stable with the dual tires from the JET tire pack, but they don't offer a chained option in the tire pack, which might be something that they would possibly consider doing in the future. It would help a lot on trucks like this, and also the Bandit. Either way, I'm happy that they've included the tires that they have so far. Got our first little tip action here. Thankfully, the truck is still running. I can use the mini crane to get us flipped back up. Alright, let's get up the hill, and we gotta head over to the logging station where we're going to cross the river. Once you get out the top, you should be able to put it in high and just cruise through there. Sometimes when you're driving along at a decent clip, the Action can get one of its front tires stuck in a rut and it'll flip the truck over, most of the time doing a cartwheel. So that is one thing you have to watch out for. The Warthog, all the weight is in the rear, and the Action is kind of the opposite. All the weight is in the front of it. So you'll notice sometimes that the front will dig down into the ground and try to nose plant you. Okay, we made it to the logging station. Now we got to cross the river. And if you remember, when we came through here logging, there are some big boulders out here, and the current is pretty strong. So just try to keep moving so it doesn't flip your truck over from sitting there. But it looks like the Action's doing okay. I do have the tallest tires installed on it. They're 47 inches, which is the same size as a lot of the medium-duty trucks, so it does give a lot of clearance to it. We're almost to our destination. We just got to get around this last mud hole here. without tipping, of course. The autonomous winch comes in real handy with this truck. And let's just push this boat out of the way so we don't have to drive around that pile of wood. And the first thing I'm going to do is lift this trailer up to unpack that fuel so I can get it loaded up in the bed of the truck. There we go. Once again, make sure you lift your crane all the way up before spinning it around to help with stability. We'll get that packed up. Alright, let's get turned around and we'll just winch that trailer behind us. You can drive straight up the waterfall there, the way we came down with our logging trucks. But I'm just going to tell you right now, it's nearly impossible to get up there with this thing. Having the weight of the fuel in the back of the truck likes to just stand straight up, and there's pretty much no way you can winch yourself up that hill. So we're going to head over to the right here, back by that wooden bridge, and we're going to take a different path that goes up through the trees and scale the mountainside that way. It's a lot better than the waterfall, but it does still have some challenges once we get up to the top. It'll get pretty steep up there. There is another option. You can follow the shoreline further down until you get over by that cabin zone too, and you can get up the hill over there quite a bit easier. But this is the path that we're going to take. We'll cut through the trees right there and head straight up. Now if you used a bigger truck that had like a 2-slot bed and a mini crane, it would probably be a lot easier to accomplish this, because you could just load the fuel and the Scout flatbed onto the truck and you wouldn't have to winch it behind. But since we had this truck out already for the Support the Meteorologist task, this is the one I'm going to use for this. It's pretty much a one-way trip for it. There isn't really going to be any need for this truck after this task is over with. So we're using the sacrificial Action. Now as you can see, going through the trees here, this is quite a bit easier than going up the waterfall, at least for the first part of it. But I managed to get the front of the truck stuck on that branch and it stood me straight up. Thankfully I caught it in time. I'm just going to use my winch to help me get through this area, and then I'll see if I can pull that flatbed behind me. Everything you do in here, you just have to go real slow and be very meticulous about your plan. This is the section that I was referring to that gets really tricky. It's pretty steep and kind of lopsided through here. It's going to be a struggle. The thing is, you can leave the flatbed behind to get yourself up to a higher area and then turn around and winch it up the hill. But the problem is, once you get up to these areas that are stable enough to let go of the trees, you can't really reach the flatbed, so you have to make sure you don't get too far ahead of it. The autonomous winch isn't quite as long as the advanced medium, and the advanced would do a little bit better job, but you know how it is. Then you don't have the option to use it when your truck flips over, and I'm not going to take that risk. Looks like the truck has stopped moving. I feel a little bit confident that I can pull that trailer up the hill at least a little ways. It's not looking very pretty though. Got one tire on a rock and one tire up in the air, and the truck is sliding. Like I said, this is, in my opinion, probably the most difficult task to do on this map. It's just really technical. Patience is a must. Okay, I'm thinking if I can put my anchors out, that should help to stabilize the truck a little bit. But it seems like instead of stabilizing it, it's just pushing it straight up. So maybe I'll have to put those back in. Yeah, let's not use those. Not feeling very safe at this moment. Okay, we're back on 4 wheels. Let's get some of this fuel out of the roof rack. That'll help take some of the weight off the top. We can try this one more time. Nope, it's pushing the truck straight up. I don't like that. I'm gonna put my crane out in front of the truck to try to get some forward counterweight. We'll get these anchors put back in. I think this might actually be the ticket. It looks a little goofy, but it's getting the job done. Okay, let's get that trailer pulled up closer. Then we'll see if we can drive out of here. Slow and steady, and easy does it. Wins this race. These rocks are really bouncy. I gotta be honest, this is pretty nerve-wracking. I'm just having visions of this truck sliding all the way down the hill. Let's see if we can get that crane pointed uphill just a little bit better. It seems to be working though. I just want to get up here to the flat spot before I restore this crane. Okay, I think that's far enough. The drop-off for this is not too much further ahead. It's kind of funny how big these rocks look when you're coming through here with a smaller vehicle compared to the big trucks. When we took the P12 and the Dan through here, these rocks weren't really an issue at all, and they didn't seem very big. But when you come through here with this truck or even a Scout, it's like everything gets so much bigger. Oh, looks like we gotta pack that fuel. Okay, we should be good from here. It's just up around the corner through the trees. We made it to the house on top. Let's get this stuff turned in, and now that task is complete. I'm feeling much better now. From here, we're gonna do the Aid Thy Neighbor task, and we can jump back into the F750 that we left up at the gateway. We need to pull that Scout fuel trailer over to the destination point, which is in the northeast corner of the map. There's also another task up there that we didn't activate yet, because I want to make that a one-time trip, and that's the reason why I didn't bother driving up there to activate it before doing this task. So let's head over to the logging station, where we can find that Scout fuel carrier that we left on the logging episodes. When we emptied this trailer out with the White Western Star, we put a little fuel back into it, and I believe there's, 140 liters. So we only need to leave 90 liters in the tank. That gives us 50 that we can work with on this trip to help top us off when we get up there. Let's head back out to the ice. It's a little easier to drive on than the muddy road, at least for part of the ways. We'll just pull this trailer behind with the winch. It would be nice if the F750 could connect to Scout trailers, now that they've given that option to some of the newer Scouts in the game to be able to have 2 different hitches. It would be cool if they would go back and add that option to this truck as well. There's a lot of situations where I would rather be able to pull a Scout trailer than one of the bigger truck trailers with this. It's time to cut back off the ice. If we go any further, we're just going to have to drive through breakable ice to get off. We'll head up the road here just a little ways, and there's a turnoff to the right. Now this road will take you all the way up to the destination point, but you're going to have to drive through a lot of really deep, nasty snow and mud. It might be some of the worst that's in this map. So like we did when we were scouting out this map on the first episode, we just drove straight up the mountain and drove across the top. And that's what we're going to do in this situation as well. It's quite a bit easier, and it'll get us over there a lot faster. You just have to be careful you don't tip the truck over, because there isn't anything up here to winch to. And once again, having the off-road tires, they do slip on these rocks quite a bit, so try to stay to the snow when possible. And I'm going to drive right along the ridge. Another good vantage spot to see some pretty good views on this map. Up here on the peak. And from here we can cut down through the trees and we'll be back onto that road. There's a little snow we have to drive through at the end, but it's not too bad. Now up ahead you can see there's a CK1500 that we'll have to pull back out of here. And we want to keep some of the fuel that's in this tanker. We have 50 liters to work with. So before I turn it in, I'm going to pull that 1500 out and we'll see if we can get some of it in that truck. We can activate the task, towage at height. We have to deliver this truck down to Uncle Joe's shack, which is at the rolled steel factory. So let's pull it out here a little ways where we can access the refuel of both that and the trailer. And it looks like we can dump 40 into it. And that leaves just over 10% in the Scout fuel carrier. I think we're safe to turn it in from there. Okay, we got that one done. Let's get turned around and we'll hook up to the Chevy. Now the Chevy is partially damaged, just like some of the other vehicles we've had to recover on this map. So pulling it out of here, since we don't have any repair points to fix the gearbox, I'm only going to turn it on occasionally when I need it to help assist itself. If you let it run for too long, it's going to pop into neutral and then it'll just be like pulling a dead weight from that point on. Let's head back out, we'll cut through the trees and get back up on the top of the mountain. Now once you're out here, you do have to watch out that the truck doesn't slide down the hill and start rolling. I mean, it's not going to be like a game over or anything, but it can whip your truck off the side pretty easily. There is some weight with that little Chevy. So we'll go right up over the peak. Look at that view. And then head back down the other side. Just take it kind of slow so you don't lose control. Now, descending the final hillside going past the trees, you kind of want to make sure that you're pointed in the right direction so the Chevy doesn't get stuck in them. Just take it nice and slow. It's kind of off kiltered here. And make sure you have the Chevy winched up real close to the back of the Ford. But we made it down. We're going to head back over and get on the ice and go past the logging station, and we'll run the ice all the way down to the rolled steel factory. It's a little muddy through here. The Chevy does have raised suspension and all-terrain tires, so it's a little bit helpful. Not too much, but you know, it's better than not having raised suspension. But I think I'm at the point where the gearbox has kicked into neutral. As you can see, the tires are just dragging on the ground. So I'm going to try to get back over onto the ice. It's difficult to see which spots are breakable and which spots are not, but there is some firm ice out here you can drive on. You kind of just have to play it trial and error to figure out where they're at. Alright, we know we can cross the ice in front of the logging station, as long as we stay to the right here a little ways. And then going through here, you just want to try to stay in the middle. If you go too far to the left or right, it's breakable, I know that for sure. Now we've been taking that zigzag around, but you can also go over here to the left if you drive over these rocks, and it's firm here too. Just about there. That's the last tricky part we have to get through. After we complete this task, we'll have one other task up in this area, and then everything will be done here on the northeast corner of the map. So let's take our back way into the rolled steel factory. And we do have some fuel in the Chevy that we can offload before turning it in. So I'm just going to dump it into the dairy. It's not a whole lot, but we got 76 liters that we can utilize. So we'll get rid of that. And then let's go turn this truck in. Uncle Joe's shack off to the left there. Wonder if they have any crab. Okay, towage at height is now complete. The last task that we need to work on is failed delivery. We have 4 oil barrels up on the ice that we need to load up and deliver to the lake house. So we can jump into the Paystar because we have a mini crane on this truck, and we're gonna head back out. Now we could go to the north from here and follow the mountainside and just take that back road over to where the oil barrels are. But the rocks are pretty big, and having that heavy lean to the side on the mountain, I think I'm just gonna take this truck back to the rolled steel factory and we'll come in from that direction. We've driven down this mountain pass so many times now. I'm sure you probably have the rocks memorized on where you can drive and where you can't and what to avoid. But the Paystar really doesn't like the bigger ones. It bounces around quite a bit when you drive over them. That mini crane does make it pretty top heavy though. This truck is actually a lot more enjoyable to drive without the mini crane, but it's a lot less useful, which I guess seems to be the case with most of the trucks. If you can avoid driving through the water, going through this last muddy section, it'll definitely help. Just trying to stay on the edge. And now that we're back over here, we can park the Paystar for a moment because we're going to bring the ANK with us. That truck has chain tires installed, which will help a little bit heading across the ice to keep control. And we're going to need that extra 2 slots of bed space anyways to haul 4 oil barrels back to the lake house. Once we get finished up on this corner of the map, we're not going to really need chain tires for anything anymore. So I might have to start reconsidering my truck configurations and maybe possibly have to run them through the garage and get them set up a little differently for the bottom stuff. It's so muddy down there. If you don't have the proper tires, you're just going to make it harder for yourself. But one thing at a time, we'll get this finished up first and then we'll start thinking about that. Now heading back out onto the ice, I'm going to try to avoid where I've already driven through. And I'll raise up the suspension to give me a little bit more clearance through here. And the Paystar pushes from the back. It's definitely helpful to have a chain tire truck in this spot. Okay, let's head over there to the north side of the lake and we'll go grab those oil barrels. Driving through here with the Paystar just by itself, the truck just slips and slides around all over the place. It's actually kind of a pain, so that's why I'm towing it behind. Now loading up these 4 oil barrels, they're kind of spread out and there's a lot of breakable ice in the area where we have to load them. So we're going to take it real slow and make sure we don't drive off into any of it. And if we do drive off into it, we want to make sure we don't get too far out there so we can get back out. I'm going to park the ANK here off to the side and I'll bring the Paystar up and we'll get loaded. That looks like it's far enough. Didn't have any issue reaching the first one. Okay, these other 3 might be a little more challenging. Let's see if I can drive out a little further. I'm already into the breakable stuff now, but we do have the ANK to pull it back out, so I'm not really that worried about this part. If I can reach at least one of these to load on the ANK, then I'll get repositioned to get the other 2. And it looks like we can. Okay, can we reach that 3rd one? We can. Alright, let's get one more loaded up. And we can pack it and jump into the ANK and get those packed. That truck's ready to go. I'll use it to pull the Paystar back out. And now driving over there, you just want to be real gentle as you're kind of testing the ice out. If it starts cracking, just try to stop as fast as you can. Back up and go to the side. Looks like the white ice here is the better stuff to drive on. I think we should be safe with that, and we can probably reach it from here. We can. Alright, now we have all the oil barrels loaded up. Let's try to back out of here without any catastrophes. Then we'll head over to the lake house and get these turned in. So some of these tasks can be a little bit nerve-wracking, at least for me. It's not so bad when I'm just playing by myself, but when I'm recording an episode, you know, I always want things to go smoothly. So it definitely adds to the pressure. Alright, we're in the clear. Let's head over there. We're going to drive the ANK out front so we have more control. And we're not going to be able to take the ice all the way up to the lake house because there's a breakable section off to the left that we'll have to drive through. So instead, we'll just cut off the ice right here, pretty much straight across from the logging station, and we'll get up on this road. The road is really, really muddy, so driving on the side of it can help quite a bit. And then once you get up into the trees, the snow gets deep. But we're almost there. Now we just got to get them turned in. I do like to drop the active suspension back down before I leave a truck, so I don't forget about it for the next time. Okay, failed delivery is no longer a failure, and from here, we're going to get started on the contracts in the bottom of the map, starting with the ore sorting center, but we're going to save that for the next one. Make sure you come back and check it out. I'm looking forward to seeing you then. Hopefully you guys are still enjoying this series, and thanks for watching.